Well, here we go after Jazz Ahead Bremen, and now Newcastle in the north of England. And no trip to Newcastle is complete without a visit to the Jazz Cafe. And look who's over there. So we've got Mike in the Jazz Cafe. Let's go and say hello.
I'm Mike Tilley, Director of Newcastle Arts Center, that owns and operates the Jazz Cafe in Newcastle, which is only 50 yards from the central station.
Let's have a quick, we can turn around. If I move around, if you kind of move around with me, then, so we both kind of stay in it. So behind us.
Right.
So if I was a visitor coming to Newcastle on the train, it'd be really easy for me to find the Jazz Cafe, just a short walk from the station.
Very short walk from the station, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cross one road and a pedestrian all the way.
Well, in fact, I've been up here today because we've had the Jazz North board meeting. We try to move the Jazz North board meetings around the North region, but I thought I couldn't have a visit here without coming to pop in. So, Mike, have you got a couple of minutes to show me around the Arts Centre and the jazz venues?
You're very welcome.
Okay, I'll follow you. Let's go.
Carry on.
This is where we put some nice music underneath it.
This is the downstairs. It's the Jazz Cafe is on 2 levels. Downstairs about 45 capacity, upstairs is 60 capacity. And then we've got a third venue, the Black Swan, which is up to 200.
Well, it's amazing. So having 3 venues all close together, but all under your ownership.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it could be amazing, but it's a lot of work for. And we keep it afloat.
So John Pope, we spoke to John, and John gave us a really good rundown on the musicians from the Northeast. Yeah. So it's really interesting now just to look at it from the venue point of things. So this is the smaller of the venues. Let's just walk down to the end, and then we'll go and have a look at some other spaces.
Sure. Well, this has been the venue for the Jazz Cafe since it first opened under Keith Crombie back in 1990.
Okay.
And then when he passed away in 2012,
I was going to cross my arms.
There was a lot of questions as to what the future of it was.
Yeah.
And we decided that we'd do a complete refurbishment and reopen it again, and which we did in 2013.
It's just kind of, if we could walk around,
sure.
Talking, then keep walking around with me, then we can look at the whole room there. Okay. So where are we going to look? Where are we going to go next?
We're going to go upstairs to what is really the concert venue.
Brilliant. How many people can...
About 60.
60?
Yeah.
Okay. When's the next gig in the concert venue?
Bah.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Oh, look, here we go. No jazz venue is complete without lots of flyers.
Yeah.
So let's just try and have a quick look in there.
Yes.
And, of course, everything is always online, so we'll put a web link up with this... webpage so people can come and have a look at the listings.
Here we are. It's really 1st of May's Tuesday Jam down here. Then Wednesday the 2nd there's the Remy Harris Trio, which Remy Harris, he's on a national tour at the moment.
Yeah.
And he's plugged into this venue as part of that particular tour.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. So we're really pleased because he's real strong exponent of gypsy swing.
Brilliant.
Then that's followed by John Bailey Quartet, who you'd be familiar with.
Well, in fact, John, that's a really good time with Northern Online Broadcast because John Bailey is playing in our Guitar Masters slot, which I think I've got my hands a bit tied up. I think that's kind of Wednesday, but it's Guitar Masters. John Bailey is playing.
Yeah. And then Friday the 11th is a Deep Cabaret presented by Jazz Northeast.
Oh, yeah. And of course, that's a Northern Line band.
Great, because Jazz Northeast are strongly linked with here, and they use this as a principal venue for their programming.
Yeah, I can do a quick plug for that. So, Deep Cabaret, I know this off the top of my head, they are playing at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. So 1500 UTC +1 Deep Cabaret. And do you know what's really interesting about Deep Cabaret? Steve Lewis was telling telling me when we interviewed him, Steve is really much into sort of the African music scene, and the, have you heard of like the desert blues kind of whole thing, and the everything?
Yeah.
And he has found that living in Morecambe, he finds looking over the mud flats at Morecambe, when the tide's out, it looks like it's a bit like a desert. It's like a mud desert, and he finds it kind of makes him feel like he's doing the desert blues with the desert mud flat blues.
Yeah.
But he's very much into site-specific music.
The desert mud flat blues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Catchy title.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the conflict between a wet mud flat and a desert.
Yeah, I think it's more just the visual open space, the desert being, you know.
I'm aware.
Yeah. Hey, let's go, Mike. Let's go and see the concert room.
Okay.
Right. As a double bass player, I really approve of double bass art. Oh, this is a nice little room. So this is like an ante room.
Yeah, it's a little lounge.
Oh yeah, this is a really cool space, Mike. Up there so we can... Right, Mike, so come and talk me through this space here. What have we got here then?
Well, this is the main concert room for jazz gigs. It's a capacity of about 60.
Yeah.
The acoustics are actually lovely because it's this weird shape. It's completely asymmetrical in every respect. And it's naturally a very good sound for live music.
And I see it's like... I see now it's sort of like set up for sort of a cafe-style seating.
Yes, yeah, we always use a cabaret style. Obviously we have a bit more capacity if we chucked out the tables, but it's a much more relaxed atmosphere as it is.
Yeah. Oh, I like this space. So will John Bailey be playing here?
Yeah.
And Deep Cabaret?
Yes.
Okay, so John Bailey and Deep Cabaret, they'll be playing in this lovely little asymmetric style room. So 2 down, how many more to go?
How many more to do? Well, the Black Swan.
Let's go look at the Black Swan.
Sure. We'll have to approach that from the courtyard, but we go. You can get Newcastle Arts Center.
Yeah, that's got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we now, Mike?
We're at the front door of Newcastle Arts Center, which is a block of half a dozen buildings surrounding a central courtyard. It covers about half an acre, but we'll go across the courtyard now because the Black Swan venue is our larger venue, which we're going to be programming more and more in future.
Oh, is it? God, I love a pint. Is the pub serving?
No, not at the moment. Oh. Will be tonight.
So your involvement with jazz, it's been a few years now, Mike. So when did you first start get involved in programming and the arts?
Oh, 1972.
1972.
Yeah.
Can you remember the bands that you were sort of booking or working with?
Well, Ian Carr's Nucleus we put on at Whitley Bay High School when we were based at Whitley Bay, and I did a few jobs with Lowell Coxall when he was working with Welfare State, because we brought them up here. Yeah,
I'm just going to do a quick turn around here so you can see things. So it's a lovely little courtyard in the thing. Oh, and this looks incredible. Let's just have a quick look at this. So this is the Iron Man. I loved that story, the film. I don't know if you can see that.
Well, yeah, this is actually the stage puppet from Pete Townshend's production for The Young Vic.
Oh, yeah.
Back in about '94, and it was also was a prototype for his. He was executive producer for The Iron Giant, the Warner Brothers animated movie.
Oh, my son loved it. I loved it. I still love it.
Yeah. And this is the prototype. It's a puppet. It was on stage at the Young Vic, and it's been here since about 19. Yeah, it's been here from 2001.
Oh, it's made my day.
Yeah,
I love that film.
The other thing about this is it's 50 years since the publication of the Iron Man by Ted Hughes.
Yeah.
So we're celebrating that this month on
Yeah.
the 19th as part of what you would know as Museums at Night program.
Yeah.
We call it the late shows here. And we've got live music, but we've got a whole program of activities around the theme of the Iron Man here.
The Iron Man. Excellent.
Okay?
Yeah. You mentioned Lol Coxhill.
Yeah.
I loved Lol's playing. It's really sad he's passed away.
Yeah, it is. I recorded him at the Bridge Hotel. Struth. Sorry about this, but
That's right.
it's going to be...
But in the last 5 years?
No.
10 years?
No.
20 years?
Yeah.
30 years ago?
This would be 75.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him for the first time about that sort of time when I was a teenager.
I'm just going to get keys.
Yeah, okay. So Mike's gone to get some keys. I'm just going to have a quick little look around, and part of this facility, they've got this brilliant art materials set up. Lovely smell of paper and wood. It must be the wood for the easels and things. And very creaky floorboards.
This is my biggest musical instrument.
Do you play solo or you play with other people?
With lots of other people. Right.
So this has a very different feel, the acoustic. I imagine this is more like a club kind of style venue.
Yeah, it's live, and it's again when you've got an audience in, that little echo there, we lose that, and so it's proved to be a very nice venue for live jazz.
So what was the last jazz thing that played here? The last jazz thing? What was the last jazz band or project? Oh, Mike, I make it really hard for you. Sorry, I shouldn't ask these questions. Or name a band. Name. Poor Mike.
The next one here is May the 19th. It's Caravella.
Okay.
And they're doing Latin American.
Yeah.
And that's part of the late shows event that we're running here.
Poor Mike. I just dropped in unannounced, and I said, Mike, while I'm here, I'm going to interrogate you. I'm going to find out everything possible about the Jazz Cafe and the Newcastle Arts Center. Are you okay?
I'm absolutely all right.
Yeah. So this has been really good. So we've seen 1, 2, 3 different spaces.
Sure.
So one thing that strikes me, and has always struck me, is that when it comes to jazz audiences don't drink very much. So is that a problem for when you're running a pub venue as an arts venue?
If you're running just a pub, it would be horrific.
Yeah.
So many of the audiences prefer to listen to the music than get pissed, basically.
Yeah.
But as an arts venue, well, it's fine. But I think overall the problem that we've all got promoting jazz is that we have an increasingly elderly audience that is reluctant to come out at night at weekends. That's something that we need to work on. Which means that we're probably going to be programming more on a Tuesday and Thursday than we have at weekends in terms of live music, and leave the weekends strictly for entertainment.
Okay, I recognise a similar thing in Manchester, Leeds, and Liverpool, which is that our streets starts on a Thursday, doesn't it? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that they're not the place you really want to be.
Well,
It's different. There's that whole drink culture and people just drinking till they fall over and.
Yeah, but I think that, and I know Newcastle, I think 10 years ago or more, made a huge mistake by promoting Newcastle as Party City.
Okay.
And it became dominated for a while by hen and stag nights. It's probably waned a bit since then. And slowly the pub and club scene's becoming a little bit more civilized.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, we certainly, as far as the main part of the jazz audience is concerned, those who are looking for music to listen to as opposed to going out to just party, then the weekend is not a great time to put on events.
No, that's an interesting point. But then again, so you've got a strategy to maybe take advantage of putting things on at a weekend which are more for that, the drinking culture, the club night audience. Strategy
is probably not the right word. I mean, we're looking at the whole scene and how we should operate it. And certainly we have pulled back from putting concert-style events on at weekends. It's something that's going to be evolving in the course of the summer and way in which we work. That's contradicted by the Newcastle Jazz and Improvised Music Festival, which comes up in October, which really is spread over a weekend and is a pretty intense one.
Will that be using some of these spaces?
All three. Yeah, it will. Both for workshop activity and for performance.
I mean, the North East has always had a great reputation for putting on the more sort of improvised and exciting acts. I guess that's Paul Bream has really, championed that in Jazz North East.
Yeah, it goes back further than him.
Does it?
I mean,
really?
like Keith Morris,
Yeah.
Even as we're talking about, I mean, Lowell Coxall was a great improviser in his own way, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And the work that we were doing back with Spectre Arts Workshop included a lot of improvised music and a lot of electronic music. We were the first kind of independent electronic music studio in this area.
Well, there's an awful lot of history, a lot of history to this area for jazz and improvised music.
Yeah.
Hey, well, Mike, I think, are there any more hidden spaces that you're going to show me? I can't believe it. The first time I've been here, and you've got 3 great little venues, and you have a jam session in the small bar, the first place we started in.
Yeah.
You've got the nice kind of upstairs room, which you can have a cabaret.
And you've had your meeting in the studios this afternoon upstairs, which is principally our teaching studios, but we have conference space as well underneath. And within that, the conference area has probably got a capacity for about 50 people. But we've no need to use that for live performance. We could use it as a teaching space and a conference space, but as you've seen, we've got adequate spaces for performance here. It's just a question of filling it, really.
That's always a problem.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great talking to Mike here up at the Jazz Cafe, and if you're ever in Newcastle, it's definitely worth checking their website out and see what's happening, or coincide your visit with what's the festival called, the improvising one?
It's called the Newcastle Jazz and Improvised Music Festival.
And the dates for that?
The dates are first week of October.
First week of
October.
the first week of October for the Improvised Music Festival in Newcastle.
Yeah.
Really friendly place. On the way here to find the board meeting, a couple of times I was stopped and people said, like, all right, because I was putting my folding bike together, and it was like back further south, as if they were checking me out, but it was just people were being friendly.
Yeah.
And I felt it's a bit odd, people just stopping you in the street and being friendly.
Well, it's a small city. Compared to Leeds or Manchester, it's third the size of Leeds. It's only 250,000 in the centre. Even though it's a regional capital in its own right for the North East, it really pulls its weight big time for its size and the geographical area that it has to serve.
Thanks, Mike. That was really good talking to you.
Thank you.